It's your host with the most without the Holy Ghost, Nidamos. Oh boy, Jerome, you're the first and the only person in the chat, so welcome back. Tonight I thought we would talk about Bible camps and Christian summer programming for kids. And that is the primary focus of this stream. So if you have experience with it or questions about Christian summer Bible camps, I'll do my best to field that kind of stuff, as well as if you want to come on and you've been to a Christian summer Bible camp of some sorts, you're more than welcome to do so. So that's the plan tonight, is to just talk about Bible camp, why Christians do it, what is it really like, and why it's a big problem, or why I think now that Bible camps are a big problem. So let's get off the ground, right, and think about the different age groups at which Bible camps are typically given, instituted, executed, whatever. When your local church sits down and says, okay, we know that these kids have a lot of time on their hands, their friends are influencing them all summer long, but we got to make sure that God gets at least a week in there in the summertime. And this is the mindset, right, of the Christian parent, right? Like, you want to send your child somewhere that you believe is going to ultimately contribute to their well-being for all of eternity. And the age groups that typically will get to go to Bible camp are about middle school, like 5th grade, so like 10, 11, 12 years old, to to 8th grade, which is like 13, 14 years old. And then there also are week-long high school age Bible camps that exist. But they're not called, summer camp, right? Then they're called like epic or blowout, or have some like hipster adjacent, culturally appropriate name for the event. Something that's like catchy, flashy, come to this different experience with all your besties, people in your crew. Jenna, what's up? You're Bruce, right? Bruce. Welcome, Bruce. So those are our two age buckets that we're typically dealing with the concept of Bible camp. Now, here's the thing. Let's start thinking more about the psychological development of a middle school age person, and then pairing that psychological development with what really does happen at Bible camps. And I don't think that a lot of parents consider the psychological development of their child's mind in the context of the behaviors that they're going to expose their child to at these kinds of camps. What do I mean by that? I want to unpack that for a bit. And then in addition to that, I think that many Christian parents that send their kids to Bible camps are doing so with, all kinds of motives, right? To get the kids out of the house, to get them to be spending time with their friends, to get them more intimate with God. All of those things to the Christian parent are, to them, a noble, if not necessary, set of goals to have in sending their child there. They in fact, they want to secure their child's eternal destiny. What's a week of time away from your child, or entrusting them to these Bible camp counselors, which is its own set of concerns. What's a week in light of eternity, right? If you can help your child invest a week in God to give them eternal life, wouldn't you? Of course. Yeah, you think that's a noble and just aspiration to have in sending your middle school age child to one of these kinds of camps. But here's the deal. When you send a middle school age child to one of these camps, there's a reason our judiciary system in this country is not a theocratic or punitive justice system as harshly to minors. It's because that over the decades of studying neurology and psychology of minors, we know that their brains, the physical stuff in there, the stuff that has psychophysical laws attached to it, is severely limited. It's not irrational, lacking senses of logical relationships to their sensory experiences. It's not irrational, but they are irrational most of the time. Meaning that even though they can make logical inferences and reach what most of us would just call true conclusions, they don't necessarily enjoy those conclusions or always want to act in accordance with those conclusions. So they have some logical cognitions, right? But they're not always going to act in accordance with those, and they're not going to go much beyond their social pressure or their in-group, right? Yeah. Society viewed children that way before there were any studies. Well, very young children, yes, I would say. But I think as adult parents who have this, like, maybe even noble lie goal, or um, higher ethic to secure their child's eternal destiny, um, they're not that. So, like, say their child does something against the law at a very young age, right? Or in these, like, preteen, early pubescent years, they're going to look at them and go, oh man, they're just a child, don't punish them as harshly, blah blah blah. But then on the other hand, they're sending them to Bible camp to make an assessment of evidence and claims about the nature of reality, all of existence. And they're inconsistently holding them to this standard of a decision that many adults can't even begin to agree about. And they're going to be culpable for their response to this information, potentially, for all of eternity. In fact, through this week of camp, could it not be possible that they could blaspheme the Holy Spirit? That they could uh, lock in and be punished for all of eternity for something they did at Bible camp? So the moral culpability for the parent of the prepubescent teen or early pubescent teen is inconsistent, right? They have a moral standard for how they actually interact with the world, where they would probably be like, don't send my kid to jail for stealing. Don't, give them the full due penalty of the law for maybe assaulting or stalking someone, which happens, or committing an act of SA against someone. Don't give them the full punishment for that. But, oh man, reject Jesus at Bible camp? Yeah, they need to go to the eternity future prison place for that. For how they responded to that 1 week of influence. Nothing a little screwy about that to anyone else? All right, all right. Let's pretend that it wasn't a week at Bible camp. Let's pretend that your 10 to 13-year-old child goes off a week with their uncle, sorry, your brother or grandma. You leave them at grandma's for a week. And grandma has them completely convinced that the Bible is full of errors, that uh, it can't be trusted. In fact, because the Bible can't be trusted, you have to really read God's newer revelation through the Seventh-day Adventist Church and their uh, new Nudie King James version. I know this will trigger someone in my audience, but it's fine. It's fine. And you, as a parent, Christian parent, even would be like, well, hang on, my preteen responded to this authority figure that I left them with and came to what I think is an incorrect conclusion, but I'm not going to really punish them for that. Yeah, or Aaron Ra, right? You take them to Aaron Ra's Bible camp. The Bible's full of errors. It doesn't have an accurate account of history. Um, evolution is true. The Earth is a globe, and it's incomprehensibly billions of years old. They're completely convinced. Now, are you going to be more angry with your child or the indoctrinator? I venture to guess that you're going to hold more moral culpability to the indoctrinator than you would to the child. And yet, when you flip it around and you are offering them the gift of eternal salvation through Jesus Christ our Lord and accepting him, you hold them responsible for that decision, right? And for an infinitely longer time period than you would for any other kinds of false beliefs or transgressions. It seems a bit inconsistent where like the evidence and data that you use to judge your child's actions and give them discipline appropriate to their understanding. You're fine with that until it comes to the message of Jesus. What if like you send them to Bible camp and they just think it's all horseshit at the age of 12? It's all horseshit because at Bible camp I learned this, this, and this, and I just can't believe that. Now you're sitting there as a parent thinking, oh, my baby's going to hell, and it's because I sent them to my church's Bible camp. Whose fault is that? Right? Or do you kind of just start dancing off into skeptical theism where you just go, oh, well, God has a purpose and plan for them not believing right now. So maybe this is all part of the grand narrative of their life to eventually bring them to repentance, or they just don't understand the gospel yet, blah, 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 blah. You can come up with all kinds of cognitive dissonant excuses for why the Holy Spirit was ineffective for that week at Bible camp. In fact, I've watched parents, as my friends, do that very thing. Their children don't currently believe, well, they just don't understand it right. I'm a fallen person. I can't preach it right to them. You name it, right? They've got a friend who's got them really interested in this thing, so there's sin in their life, and blah, 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 excuses that God can't get the job done in their kid's life. God hasn't made their 8-year-old elect, their 9, 10-year-old elect yet. So that's one problem with like middle school Bible camp, right? Is that you want to hold these children morally responsible for the actions they take for an infinite amount of time period at this 1 week camp. But you don't do that in every other case. So it's inconsistent. The other thing is that, like I had said before, and I at minimum, it seems anecdotally true that children in that age group will do almost nothing else but pursue social cohesion. And by sending them to a Bible camp where maybe like they have great amounts of familiarity because you already go to church with all these people, excuse me, what you're basically doing is, if this child recognizes, right, let's say that they haven't made their Jesus decision, or maybe they did when they were 4 years old but they don't really remember it. So let me speak from the dwell, Xenos kind of perspective as to how Bible camp typically goes. And how it usually goes is that you drop your kid off on like a Sunday night. And Sunday night they have a late night bonfire. Your kid is up till at least 10, 11 o'clock. And that's just presuming that they don't, talk to their friends. And we know that kids need a good amount of sleep to make good decisions, to have healthy interactions with their friends, to best assess everything's going well around them, blah, blah, blah. So they do that the first night. And then the next night, early that morning, they're woken up for breakfast. They're probably groggy. And then the next morning, there's some kind of like short Bible teaching about an hour or so after breakfast. They play fun and high interactive games all day. They do relay races and all this other funtivity type stuff. And maybe they get like a 20-30 minutes to themselves, and then boom, it's lunchtime. And then bam, there's like another activity. And then, okay, then it's, hangouts with the counselors, right? Where they're more than likely going to have some kind of God-oriented conversation or some kind of like goal-oriented activity to try and get them to have a God-oriented conversation. And then they'll get rushed along into dinner time. And dinner time will just be, eating food, socializing, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they'll play some games. But then about 20-30 minutes later, there's going to be an hour-long Bible teaching. And this is their basic itinerary for every single day of that Bible camp. These aren't like, camps where, like summer camps that I went to, where you get to like screw around in the woods and stuff. No, 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 no. Lots of Christian summer camps are these basically like Jesus boot camps where your whole day is planned out and guided and fed to you through your camp counselors. And there's a program, there's a set of teachings that generally are around some kind of theme or one particular book of the Bible, but they also escalate in their tone and the level of consequence for rejecting Jesus. And what you're doing to this minor is that you're heavily inculcating them in the euphoric experiences of group activities and, pursuing goals with people. They're in this like slowly boiling pot of water of, this is my group, this is my flock, this is my tribe, this is what I know. And yet at the end of every teaching, they're hearing, but to really be a part of this, you have to make this decision. You have to accept Jesus Christ as Lord. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on how awesome all this is right here. in heaven forever. It's a veiled threat. You're basically threatening these children with being in the out group, with losing the fun, the connections, the relationships, the ability to pursue meaningful goals, to feel accepted. Right? The opposite side is there can't be good news without any bad news, right? They're going to go to the naughty fireplace. The eternal lonely suffering out place. And that dilemma is going to be presented to them day after day after day. And I don't think many parents realize that the itinerary plays a heavy-handed role in getting them to make that kind of decision. There's a reason that multi-level marketing groups are still a thing, and because this even works on adults. How does it work on adults? Well, you have a weekend retreat, 3 days long, where you hear about the glory and the benefits if you become a full contributor. If you invest everything you have in this, reward is coming. This kind of heavy involvement, no time to slow down itinerary, I don't think it's nefarious on purpose. I think it's done because it has been shown to produce results. And it does. This kind of uh, heavily scheduled, heavily regulated, and cyclical activities and reinforcement of information over the course of a week, and then you do it every summer, is eventually going to produce some kind of the result that you're trying to produce. And yeah, it basically is kind of a re-education camp. I agree with you. And I think that here's the deal, right? We have all these YouTube apologists running around, running their mouths, saying that atheists are intellectually bankrupt, that they shouldn't be producing their content and making their claims, blah, 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 because they were never really Christians because they never read Aquinas. They haven't understood the intellectual gravitas of God and this argument they're presenting or whatever. When on the other hand, at their home church, more than likely, their kid who doesn't want to hear a lick of psychophysical harmony or the cosmological kalam, moral argument, blah, 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 or like, trope arguments and things like that. They don't give a shit about any of that stuff, and they can't even comprehend it. Yeah, those guys can be true. Your prepubescent teen, they can be a true Christian because they spent a week at Bible camp and said yes. They got worn down from the schedule and the pressure from all of their friends to make this eternal decision that's so important. You have to make it right now because once you leave Bible camp, you could get hit by a bus. You could be like our friend Jimmy who went to the beach for the summer instead of Bible camp and he got bit by a shark and died. That could be you. Or you could be like Tabitha, who was sitting at her desk last Thursday before graduation, and the school shooter came in and lit her up full of holes. That could be you next year if you don't make a decision for Jesus. You would face hell after you get turned into kid Swiss cheese in our school. Really? You want your kid to think that? Okay, I guess you love them more than I do. I don't want my kid to think that. This could happen at Bible camp, but some kids grown up caring about others and doing really well in life. And yeah, what I'm not saying is that um, that some people don't turn out well despite having gone to Bible camp. Or sorry, or because yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, okay. It's almost like akin to saying like what some Christian converts even say. Well, I was raised atheist, but look at me now. Everything went wrong in the past, but now look at me now. Hey, look at me now. You know. Where was I going? Yes, wearing people down and wearing down our youth to basically pressure them into making this decision that has this moral culpability component to it that we never do in every other context of life. And the Pascal's bus, as I like to call it, or I'm calling it now, Pascal's bus. So is the common apologetic given at Dwell youth meetings. It sucks. Like it drives me up a wall that adults who have kids of their own think that this is a great thing to say. You know, you don't know, but at any minute after this Bible teaching, if you haven't made a decision for Christ, you could get hit by a bus and die and spend an eternity in hell. So you better make a decision, because I hope when you leave here, you don't get in a car accident and burn forever. I kid you not. I was uh, in peripheral attendance, we'll say, at a youth meeting. They called it like central teaching or whatever. And that is exactly the way that the youth minister posed the gospel decision to close out the Bible study. Closing out a real positive note. What up, Rebecca? I'm taking on Bible camp because who doesn't love a good Bible camp for their kids? Just talking about like how absurd it is that Christian parents hold their middle school age children to a moral decision that is of such high value and consequence when they're at Bible camp and what they think about and how they respond to Jesus. But then they don't do that in any other context or set of behaviors. And they would even get mad if their child came away with a conclusion apart from uh, their own through the results of like some other indoctrinator, right? And how furious they would be at the indoctrinator, not the one who was indoctrinated, right? Oh, they're young, they're impressionable. We would never, want them to believe that or do that behavior or think that way about reality. But lo and behold, they're young and impressionable, right? Why in the hell, when that's the very case of your child, do you subject them to that, right? This young and impressionable mind. I just don't get it. I really don't. Maybe these parents just secretly believe in Pascal's bus. That at any moment their child is going to get lit up with school shooting bullets or hit by a bus, and they've got to make sure that they've got their Jesus insurance. So they send them to Bible camp to get this done. There's a link to join the stream. I'll let you guys hang out. Oh, it's Bruce. What?
Ruh-roh. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, good. I want to hear what you have to say about this because you said in the chat that you sent your kids to Bible camp, and I agree with you that there are people who, and I'm not saying like going to Bible camp as a youth is like going to be this moral stain or like
Right.
thing that um forever mars your ability as a person or your cognitions or anything like that. No, of course not. Like you can go through all kinds of things and end up a completely different person than you would really expect. So I agree with you there, and I'm interested to hear what your rationale was in sending your kids to Bible
Yeah,
camps and how you feel about them now.
and you'll have to let me know what Lewis is saying here about P-Town Bruce Stoley. Where does that come from? This
Well, so P Town was rocking an Eclipse avatar for like the longest time, and because like that's a really
oh my
strong evidential piece
really?
for him. Yeah, yeah,
I
but it,
just I
yeah.
had this 400 millimeter zoom with a 2x expander, and I put it on my
Oh,
Sony.
cool. So you
Yeah,
took that.
yeah, I took that picture. I mean, it's not the
Oh,
greatest, but
sweet.
a full moon's hard to get because you have so much light. But yeah, I thought
Ah,
this one kind of no serious, So anyhow, yeah, I took that out in my backyard one time.
my kids are really into space and cosmology right now, and I'm a camera like that and or a telescope is definitely on my purchase
Yeah,
list.
yeah. I mean, there are better cameras for that. I mean, mine. I like doing a lot of I guess super macro kind of stuff like insects and stuff and stacking
Neat.
pictures. And now I've kind of got into this thing of wanting to do, and I haven't spent enough time, but I'd like to do some space type photography, which where you have really long exposures, and then as you take a number like 15, 20 seconds at time, because otherwise you'll get, because of the earth spinning, we'll call it the globe spinning. Yeah, you'll get
Oh.
trails. Yeah. And so you can only expose for so long, and then you take a number of
Right.
pictures and you
Yeah. You,
stack them and line
you
them
you get
up.
the motion blur of the
Yeah, you
actual
don't
Earth
want
if you
that,
have
yeah,
it going long enough.
yeah, and plus you'll
Yeah.
overheat your sensor, and you need tracking devices otherwise, and I don't have that, so oh well, it's fun, but I'm not a flat earther, and neither are my kids, and they did go to Bible camp, and but yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a good experience for them, but I think it would also depend on the type of church you sent them to. And of
Sure.
course,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
you think about theology in general, whether you see that as good or bad.
Yeah. 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 So I am actually, you know what? I think if I could see myself sending my kid to a Bible camp if and only if I was ensured that they didn't have some kind of like ridiculous, rigorous itinerary. So that they aren't just like physically and emotionally exhausted from the experience and then pitted with that
Yeah.
kind of like pressure tactic decision making, right? And like I said, I don't think it's nefarious that it's done this way. I think it's done this way because it just like works and that's what they remember doing, so they just keep doing it that
Well, I
way.
think the one thing you're going to have is the kids are going to have to get up at a certain time, get down for breakfast, and hang
Sure.
out and
Yeah,
have
yeah,
your
and that's
breakfast.
fine.
And you're
Yeah.
going to have, swimming and, the different things they're going to do, climb this and that and hike and, yeah, of course, go boating or whatever. Like you're going to have all that stuff. And then the bad
Yeah.
kids are like throwing cats around up and down the porch and stuff. You go, oh man, I wish my kids didn't go there now, but you you I
Oh my
mean, yeah,
god,
because
that's
you
so
hear the
good.
stories about, well, Jimmy, he was like throwing the cat up and down the steps, and then he got in trouble. It's like, yeah, well, no wonder it's like, so I mean, I remember though hearing like the good times, kind of crazy stuff, like so and so got in trouble,
Hold
whatever.
on. Great
It's
comment in
fun.
the chat. Peter W, that's the most true thing you've probably said all day. Christian parent will be nuts to send their kids to a Bible camp if they didn't know and trust the people at the camp. Amen. Hallelujah. I completely agree with this because there's just too much damn,
Well, it's true.
we,
But how
we all
well do
know.
you always know everybody? I mean, for me, I guess it was easy because I did know
Yeah, yeah.
many people there. I was playing in a praise and worship band at the time. I knew different pastors there. I knew who was running it, who was working there.
Yep.
No,
That's great.
so I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
and the kid may come home and say, "Hey, Dad, I believe in evolution." You go, "Well, yeah, I have a weird attitude, maybe, but you know,
Yeah. But yeah, here's the thing. I think it also depends on like understanding like the camp structure and the relationship of the counselors and the adults to like the sleeping quarters and all that other stuff,
yeah,
right?
absolutely."
Like there's like there's a model where summer camp is done where the counselors even sleep in the same places as the youth. Now, I think that only works if all parents know and hold accountable that counselor
Right.
personally.
Well, there are going to be people who are going to come in and check on the kids every so often.
Sure, yeah, 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 yeah.
That's to be expected, though. I mean,
Mhm.
in my opinion, that they should be doing that. But then on the
Right.
other hand, and if anything did happen, well, the consequences of hell have to be there for the guy working there too, or whoever.
Oh, I completely agree. They ain't gonna be no youth minister shuffle going on here. That
Yeah, yeah,
motherfucker's
like there
going
would
to
have to
prison.
be like hell on earth kind of, you know. Um,
I'm with
but
you there,
no,
brother. Man.
but you have the same thing in. I mean, sadly, you have the same thing in Boy Scouts, and I don't know, like the Aaron Raw bottle camp. No, I don't know. I was kidding, but
Right.
I mean,
No. That was actually a great contribution because I think that I could see myself even being just as frustrated that my kid um, believes or thinks a thing because of their social entanglements or engagements or their the week long wear down that they got, even if it was like some evolutionary atheist or whatever. Like, I
right,
don't want
right.
them making decisions based on
When you say
pre-
wear down, that's what I'm not sure what you mean though. Like when you say wear down,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
what I mean.
So there's also like a phenomenon where like if you um are so you kind of produce like a social fight or flight response in someone through uh, posing them the same dilemma multiple times over. So it's like, well, if not making a decision is a decision, you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision. You do this, day after day
Yeah,
after day
yeah,
after day. They're
yeah.
eventually going to have to feel like, okay, if I don't make a decision, I'm in the out group. If I make a decision, I'm in the out group, or I'm in the in group, or the out group. Like, so, it's kind of like uh car sales, but in like a like, because they don't want you, a car salesman. The death of them is when you leave the lot, right?
Right, right,
Having made where not making a decision is equal to not buying the car, right? Or you've made a decision enough to not have left with the car they're trying to sell you. So they're going to do everything in their power to keep you on the lot and put you in that dilemma of, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to buy yet? Like, and as soon as you
sure, sure.
threaten, I'm going to leave the lot, right? They're like, whoa,
Mhm.
hold up. What can we do to make sure you make a decision here?
Yeah, I see
Right.
your point. I see your point. I
So
think,
now imagine that, but you're only 10 or 11 years old, right?
yeah,
Like, how
I
much are you going
guess
to be able to really resist that?
I I probably see it differently because I kind of see it as that I wouldn't have sent my kids to something or they weren't already mentally before they went. To be honest, I probably wouldn't have done. I wouldn't do
Right.
that. I mean, it's like my kids didn't feel like they were somewhere teaching something different than what they learned at home, or how they're taught to live, basically.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Welcome, Brett, by the way. I saw your comment on Oz's video that you invited me to talk with you and Kent, and I wasn't able to make it because I am a dad that likes to spend time with his kids. So,
Well, Brett,
Well, children are the most important of all. They should always be the top priority. It sounds like you're a good gold man on that.
well,
I'm glad
thanks.
to
I
be
appreciate
here with
that.
you.
Well, if you haven't seen all the Legos yet, I mean, that should tell you all you need to know.
Well, Niddy, I got some good news for you and Bruce if interested. I'm going to be
Oh,
doing consecutive shows with Kent Hovind, and we're
oh
going
my.
to allow people to come in. So I heard you guys mention evolution earlier.
Oh
So,
dear.
yeah.
Well, I was just using evolution as a um, what's a good word for this? Like as an illustrative measure, right? Like, in my idea of like, what if there was evolution camp, right, instead of summer Bible camp? Like,
It would be fun. We could all stare at rocks and wait for them to evolve into something. That'd be cool.
oh come on, don't
I
don't don't straw
I
man it that hard.
I would rather see the kid evolve into somebody who loved his neighbor. That's just my opinion. I mean, to me, that's what it was about. It was about having a good time, enjoying life, and honestly, learning to love God and love your neighbor. And to me, I thought that was a positive thing. Enjoying music, enjoying hiking, enjoying life, and sharing with, and I think that was good. I think it was healthy. I think it could be radical and it could be crazy, but I don't think it has to be.
I agree, Bruce. Music is a universal language. A lot of music nowadays doesn't have as much soul.
It
You know,
depends. I think it depends. Certainly, what's popular, I could agree, lacks a lot of like depth and introspection in the content of the lyrics or even the layers of the composition, but it really depends on like what kinds of genres and artists that you engage yourself with, right? Because I can tell you, I listen to some modern music that it's composed at least as deeply as some older classical pieces, if not more so. And
what do you
then
listen to, or what do you listen to where you hear that?
I really like Submotion Orchestra.
Sub?
They
What
Yeah,
are they called?
Submotion Orchestra. They marry like electronic stuff with jazz stuff, and it's very layered, complex, using classical instruments alongside modern
Oh
production
wow.
techniques. Yeah, they're really cool, especially their earliest albums. And then, or you listen to someone like Grizz, Griz. He does glitch hop stuff, but with also like jazz and funk and soul elements
Oh
put
really?
into it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
And
sounds.
yeah,
Do
it's
you
great.
play an
It's really good
instrument or
stuff.
anything?
No, but I do DJ.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Did you like the show Stranger Things?
I
Or did you
did.
watch
Yeah,
it all?
yeah, yeah.
What'd you think of the synth work on that? I thought it was cool.
Oh yeah,
There-
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that stuff. Well, the intro to the live stream, I actually made that. Um,
Oh wow.
that piece of music. Yeah, I know how to use Ableton Live enough and
Oh cool.
the virtual synthesizers and things like that
Yeah.
to produce.
Brett does a lot of
And on the stream before this one, the track that was the intro for that stream, I also made.
wow. Pretty
Yeah,
neat.
Well,
Yeah.
Nitty, when you get an opportunity, you ought to hear Bruce on the guitar. Now, if you want to look for some soul, you got it there.
cool.
Yeah.
That's great, Bruce.
I like guitar. Yeah, it's fun.
Tux, you're welcome to hop on in the studio and hang out with us. So, Brett, did you ever send your kids to Bible camp?
No, no.
Oh.
Unfortunately for me, I was an atheist for many years
You
before
were
that
a
came.
godless heathen when you had your
Yeah, I
latest.
definitely needed to be burned at the stake for sure. But I ended up finding God. I had my road to Damascus. I still have a lot of work in progress I got to deal with, though, on my behavior and the way I do things. By the
Okay.
way, Niddy, I can only stay for a little bit. My daughter's going to be
Hey,
coming home soon, and she's got something she
it's all
wants
good,
to do.
man.
But
I'm
if you
glad you
guys
popped
want
in at
to,
all. So
Nitty, if you guys want to, I'd love to have you on the show sometime.
yeah, we could chat. What are you on Pacific time?
Central.
Central. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So your kids are older now.
Yeah. My daughter still lives at home and stuff.
Okay.
My son just got him his own home and a truck and all that. He's doing pretty good.
Awesome. I'm really grateful that your family has you're producing productive adults.
What is all that in the background, real quick, before I get out of here? I'm just like, wow, I'm mesmerized.
So the back wall has a TARDIS portrait uh, that I got as a Christmas present from my wife. Various Marvel Lego set instruction pages, as well as I play a card game called Marvel Champions. So there's some posters back there. Another poster my kids and wife and kids got me for Christmas. The LEDs were another Christmas gift, and then the rest of it is my expert slash uh, Mario slash kids and eyes Lego collection. So that's what we got going on.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Sounds like you got a good blessing going on there. Very
it's
good.
fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. My daughter plays with it the most. My son really likes the Lego Mario right now. Um, and yeah, there's some more Legos hiding on the peripherals, but not too much. But yeah, this is my little LED dungeon that I hang out in to work from home.
Well, I'm gonna get out of here and let
Oh,
you and
thanks,
Bruce
Brett.
get back to talking. And
Yeah,
Bruce is a really cool person, so you have great discussions with them. I'll come
Oh,
back sometime when you're live.
well, good
thank you.
seeing you,
Thank you so
Brett.
much. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have a good night. Yeah, I'd
Cool.
be interested in hearing about when you were saying Ableton Live. I haven't played with that really.
Yeah, so
Played the soft
this is a
synths. I
bit
just
off topic
wondered
from the stream,
how you
but
do that.
so actually, you know what? I could pull it up right
I mean,
now.
what do you use? Like, I guess what I was wondering as far as like figuring out your chord patterns and
Oh,
like
see,
what kind of
okay,
notes you choose for basses or melody lines and that kind of thing.
so I am not trained or what's the word I'm looking for?
I'm
Um,
semi-educated. I only,
yeah, I
you know,
am not
I'm not
musically
like
educated,
I'm not
really.
like you go into deep theory, I'll get lost real fast. But basic theory, I understand, but I can get
Right,
lost.
I really don't. So what
Well,
I
my point is like, can you like say if you have a basic three chord progression, like could you hum a melody and then figure out notes that fit it? If you no, you wouldn't do it
nope,
that way.
nope.
And
I
then that's
just
what I'm trying to figure. How do you put it together then?
yeah, so I would use what did I use? So to make the stuff that I did make as live stream intros, I used like a mixed in key wheel and
A mix and
uh,
what?
it's called a mixed in key wheel. So it's like what things are harmonious, like the harmonious relationships between the like musical keys. And then I used a the tuner um, plugin on
Okay.
Ableton Live to see if what I was making was in tune, and then
Wow.
I would just use the rest by ear. So like I would just see like, hey, like does this sound good with like the rest of what I'm doing? No, that note sounds like it doesn't belong there, or it's not. It's
Okay, so if it was
it's a
flat or
half instead of
sharp
a
and it
whole.
sounded not quite right, a half step or a whole step, you
Yeah,
could
just do the
hear
rest
whether
by
it sounded
ear.
right or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So which is still not going to be perfect, but like it got results. And like I walked through let's see, I can share this. So I usually use Ableton for DJ mix production.
Like if you heard this, would you say it sounds dark and kind of weird and maybe not quite right
Yeah,
compared to like that sounds.
that's better. Yeah.
Or I could play just something really bad.
Oof.
Like that's
That
wrong.
had like 3 notes off. Yeah.
Or if I
That
go,
means
that's a weird chord, but it was the beginning of Purple Haze, where it goes.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. So you can hear when a note. Or what about demonic? If I do demonic quick, do you remember that the tritone thing?
Nope.
Anyhow, no,
So can you see my
apparently it's the
screen?
most evil you can come up with. Apparently,
Nice.
but anyhow, enough of that.
Yeah. So typically
Circle of
I
Fist.
use let's see, do I have my VSTs on this machine or not? Plugins. I do. I
Wow,
do. Yay.
that's pretty cool.
So I can put like this guy on here. Let's see if it works today. Yeah. So this is basically like a drum machine kit. I don't know if you can see it or not. Oh no, you can't. Hold on. Let me fix that. Let me fix it.
Now, the audio, the tracks you were showing, or is that MIDI or are those WAV files?
Those are these are wave MP3s
Okay.
that are in here. So this is a DJ mix, but thank you for using native battery for it. Okay, that's not the instrument I wanted. Let me show you something
Well,
else.
Native has some cool stuff.
Yeah, they really do. Run demo. No, I have the full of Serum. So what you do with this is you take a wave, right? This is the current wave pattern, right?
Is this like analog or like additive synthesis, or what do they
Yep.
call it? Like,
Yep. This is additive synthesis. So you can
okay.
modulate it, right? This is the envelope for what this saw wave is going to produce. And I don't have it set to record or anything, but you can also look at like different presets. So how I made the tracks that have been the intros to my live streams was exactly this. So I would make additive synthesizers in Serum. I'd take an oscillator A and I would just set it to a random frequency, and then I would effects chain them and filter it, right? So I would probably do like a high pass filter and set the cutoff pretty low to make like a baseline, and then I would do the inverse,
Or
right, to do a
like a high
like
cut, you mean? Or I
I
think,
would do a low cut to do like a higher tonal synth.
yeah, or low pass would allow the lows to come through. Something
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Right. But actually, it'd be a high pass filter, so I'd switch to a high 18 for my like synth
Well, that should
lines.
just that'll leave the highs, but it will cut the lows.
Right. Yep. You get
Yeah.
it. You get it. You get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly what I use Ableton for nowadays is just DJ mixes. I've gotten a little bit away from the production stuff, and I make DJ mixes for myself for my jogs, runs, and or
Wow.
maybe do mashups and things like
Could I
that.
hear it?
So I wonder if
Or will it not play?
can I.
Oh, I don't want to
share?
drive you off into weird stuff, but
I
it's pretty
mean,
cool though. It's
it is.
cool that you're doing it.
Yeah. I like doing this. No, I can't do audio this way on Restream right now.
Yeah.
But I could do it if I was in OBS Studio. I could do it, but I don't feel like it right now.
If you ever want, if you ever want some guitar or something, if like on your intro
that'd be
or something,
awesome.
that might
If
be
you wanted
interesting.
to give me guitar beats or guitar riffs, that'd be awesome. Compress. What
Yeah.
would you record them with?
Well, I don't know. I could use Vegas or I could use Reaper or something like that, I guess.
Oh, sweet. So that would be a clean, high quality. If it's at least a 320, I could use it.
Yeah, I usually use Waves, but I mean, I can compress it and make it an MP3 if it doesn't matter.
Yeah, when I was a professing Christian, I wanted to make music that was atmospheric for my prayer and journaling time. Not lo-fi, not like that, like
No.
trendy lo-fi shit. Like I wanted to make like something that like had like a soul or an essence to it. Not funky, but like what's like
When
maybe
you
like
say
almost
soul, you mean like
the,
John
the,
Mayer kind of like
no,
soul,
no, no. I
or
mean
more like
like
kind of spacey, kind of ambient, or
yeah, it would be like something that like you listen to like the construction of it, like just by the nature of its construction, it plays on your emotions. You're not quite sure why.
hmm.
So there's a couple of like electronic songs that I can like find that do that for me. And you know what? Maybe I can.
What if you
I'll try
listen
not
to
to get a
something like?
copyright strike.
Did you ever listen to Cars much or at all, or like I think of this song "Drive" that for some reason always had like really heavy emotion to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hang on. Let me see
Um,
if I can.
that dates me, I know, but
Okay, I can. I can probably do like 15 seconds of this before YouTube freaks out. Oh, dang it! I accidentally closed it.
I saw something.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Okay.
I don't hear anything yet.
Oh, you don't hear anything though.
Uh-uh.
Oh, I forgot to share the audio. Hold on. Dang it. Window. Chrome tab. That's what I want. This would do it. There you go.
Oh,
I obviously wouldn't do vocals, but there's like a chord progression and sequence of notes happening there that are really playing on the emotions, and it swells up for a little bit and then comes back down. Um,
yeah, it's pretty. It's just kind of
this is
yeah, it's neat.
or like a can you hear this one?
Oh, cool cello-like sounds.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the kind of stuff I wanted to make. Put like this part where it's like got the most energy. Yeah, so stuff like that is what I wanted to make eventually. Um, that song "Roll Back," by the way, is really hard to listen to for me for some reason. Like it really gets to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy synth work, like that kind of big analog, big fat synth
Mhm.
type stuff going on.
Yeah, but
If that
I can't like watch the video and listen to the song at the same time. Not a chance. I will cry.
it's that emotional to you.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting. Like for me, it leans in the electronic realm for this kind of stuff. But you know, um, what's the other one? There's one more that's like this. Oh, what's his name? Oh, uh, this guy makes some interesting
Do you
music.
like stuff like I know that's kind of like maybe too it's funk or something, I guess.
Well,
Remember-
that sounds like Queen's Fame, or no, David Bowie. David Bowie's Fame, right? Is that
Oh
what
yeah.
you're playing?
Oh, no, I was just making something up. I wasn't really thinking. I do know what you mean. Yeah, it kind of had a funky kind of.
Hang on, let me find this guy.
Yeah, I forget how that went.
That's funny.
Out of tune. No, I usually
Where
listen.
is this video? Did he take it down?
Oh, I got the funk. How did that go?
The funk. We got the funk. We got the funk.
I can't remember how that went. I don't remember. Something like that. I don't remember.
Nice. I recommend. I'm not going to play this because I'll probably get a copyright strike, so I'm not going to do it. But SYML's "Everything All at Once" music video. This music video, I can almost cry every time I watch it.
SYML. Everything at once.
Everything All at Once, yeah. But it's not purely electronic. He actually plays a lot of guitar and sings, and this song is just. So when you say modern music lacks soul, I agree with you for the radio, but this
I think
song and video, riveting. It's really hard to get past an experience like this one.
I guess this one. I'll share a link with us. With
Yeah,
you, but because I think you're right. You get nailed for. Wait, where's the private chatter? How do you do that? Oh, I see. I see now.
you're good.
There's that song, "The Cars." If you feel like listening to it, I mean, I think it's mainly synth and heavy snare. It's kind of weird. That song always moved me. Just hit me really hard. But
Yeah,
you know,
and I know that it's completely possible to do with predominantly like electronic instruments or whatever. Oh, what's the song? Now this has got me in like the 70s and 80s mode where I'm thinking about there's like a song that's older that is like this too for me too. Anyway, we're way off Bible camp now.
yeah. Bible camp. No, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I mean that in a way though that was a part. I think depending on some kids, they would get involved in the praise and worship thing, and the next thing you know, they playing guitar, heading to hell.
Right.
But no,
Yeah, they've started a Christian band. Oh no.
oh, that's it. And they're playing like Christian death metal, But
Right.
but you know, maybe they just have fun singing, or whatever, learning. They learn how to sing. They learn how to, they're playing drums, guitar, keyboards, whatever, and they.
Yeah.
I mean, to me though, I just saw it as a thing with the kids did. They weren't getting in trouble, and of course, obviously you want them to be supervised. You have to have that, and yet you want to make sure that the people supervising them are trustworthy, and there's people watching the supervisors also.
All around coverage, right?
Right,
And,
right.
and like I said, like I could see myself being more okay if Bible camp was not what it is today for a lot of Christians, or at least for my particular, life situation or my church, right? Or the church that my kids go to, where there's just this high intensity.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of. Or do you mind without mentioning the church? But I mean, is there what
It's just a
they believe or what
non-denominational
they're.
Protestant leaning church.
Yeah, yeah.
Dwell Community Church. I'll say it on here. I give
No,
them
it's
shit all
okay.
the time
Would
on
would
this
it
channel.
be so? It'd be more kind of Pentecostal, charismatic,
Well, so
or more like
no,
Baptist church,
or
or more
at
like.
least not currently. It's more like a okay. So they're just so weird. I like to call them fundies that don't like to be called fundies. It's like they envision themselves as Frank Turek's,
Which
right? Like
are, oh boy, I'm lost.
so like um everything in the Bible is true, but we're not like, these evil, like anti everything or like flat earth type Christians. No, 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 no.
Well, wait a minute. Let's get real though. How many flat Earth Christians do you really meet?
Do I meet? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, really.
almost zero in real life, but on
Yeah,
YouTube,
but on the internet, it's kind of like, wow. They're like,
they find me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, in real life, like, how many? I mean, what I've noticed is you have to hunt for a church um, that present some of the things that catch your attention on YouTube, because you just go, wow, this is just like so far out. Like, you got to be kidding me, you know? I
Right. Yeah.
I think you have to look for a good ways. Like, you'd have to drive a good many miles for most people to find something as far out as some of the stuff that grabs our attention.
Right. And that's kind of like, the the space that, being on YouTube you operate in, right? You're able to find the crazies or the outliers
They're the
faster.
loudest too. Typically, they're
Yeah,
the
well, and they generate like the clicks and the
yeah.
controversy faster than
Mm.
the people who are the moderates or the people who
Well,
are just saying what most people say.
so to be honest, like, if I look around where I live, if I were to look at the majority of churches around, I would say the majority would be pretty liberal.
Hmm.
And in most people's minds, they they might say, well, evangelical, maybe kind of, but they're super liberal and they're not really true Christians. Or I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying that's how I think a lot of what I would being the word fundamental isn't used as often. I guess I look at what I would consider stricter evangelicals leaning towards fundamental points of view would probably look at a lot of the mainline churches as very liberal anyhow, you know. Do you think,
Right.
or no? I mean, it depends on
So
what
wait, hang
goes.
on. Can you read? Yeah, liberal by what metric? Titan says like.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's just say simply that the majority churches around, like, they're probably going to believe that the Earth is billions of years old, whatever, they're
Most of the adherents, let's say. Yeah.
yeah, and even within the church, if it was brought up amongst the pastors and such, they go, yeah, well, of course it's old. They're not going to probably be praying demons out of people. They're they're probably not going to be speaking in tongues. They're probably not going to be saying the King James is the only Bible you can read. You have to go to
Sure.
the Baptist churches, or you have to go to something that's more doctrinally set. Uh, some of your Pentecostals and such, or Wesleyan-based churches don't. I mean, before you start getting fairly strict, or a very strict Presbyterian church or something. I mean, well, being honest, I mean, the majority of churches are what most people would consider liberal today. I think.
Mm, I'd say it's probably as even cut as our election results.
Well, that could
Like,
be. Yeah.
yeah, and the reason I say that is even within my former culty ass church, we they ran like internal surveys on people's political views and where they kind of saw themselves in terms of science, the Bible, blah blah blah. And it came out like, 55 45, right? 55 leaning towards like, old earth, Democrat voting, blah blah blah, 45%,
Hmm.
Republican voting, but some mix of what the age of the earth is and, how do we interpret these parts of the Bible and stuff like that. So, with a sample size large enough, even within a church, call it, I don't know, you could probably even within those congregants or organizations find people that are just as divided as the country as a whole. So I think because of that, like when and this is like a sample size of like 5 to 10,000 in the greater Columbus area, and so like if they're coming away with that percentage within that kind of congregation, then what do you come away with, in the
Well,
greater set of
right.
Christendom in the country? Like, I think it's
Here's
probably
here's
still
the way
pretty
I look.
even.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, say that say it lines up similar to politics. Like, okay, so let's say that half of the people, a little more, somewhere around half, are sane, and the rest of them are pretty well insane. I mean, I look at it, the ones that lined up with Trump. I mean, he's the first sane president we've had in many, many years.
Wait, what did you just say?
Sorry, I have a bad sense of humor.
Because I'm not
I
sure
knew I'd get you worked up on that.
I'm not sure I agree with the overall sanity of someone who motorboats Rudy Giuliani in drag. Okay, like,
Oh, come on, man. He won the election and just, gee.
what that is proof that winning an election doesn't mean that you're a intellectually coherent or moral paragon. It doesn't help your case.
Well, I have to say, as much as it makes some people really angry at me, it was, as a conservative, I found it to be some of the most difficult years I've had in a long time.
Really,
Yeah, to be honest.
with like the Trump presidency and whatnot.
There's certain things I liked about him, and I did vote for him, but it was not easy.
But there was a lot of holding the nose.
Oh, a lot of like yelling at the TV and stuff. Yeah, last couple of years
Yep.
I yelled at the TV a lot, and I was
Wow.
really upset, man. Yeah,
See,
it really, really drove me up a wall.
for me,
It
and
was hard.
yeah, when I was involved in my church and trying to disciple a gentleman, um, we did not agree politically at all. And, having been alive in like the late 90s when Trump ran the circuit on Howard Stern and shit like that, I'm like, where is this guy coming from saying that he has these kinds of values or is a representative for this kind of demographic? Like, it doesn't make any damn sense to me as a Christian. Like, the guy's had multiple wives, and then
Yeah,
he lives a life that's antithetical to like the earliest church. Like, like the amount of nose holding that I would have to do in my type of Christian worldview was so high that it was almost like, well, then why don't I just elect Artaxerxes as like
yeah.
president too? And then like I just couldn't bring myself to register to vote and vote for someone like that. Like, I
But
was, by the
well,
way, I came up with a big biblical defense of not registering to vote and all that shit. So
yeah, I did, but I think that when I mean, I certainly couldn't do. I wouldn't vote again for him. Like, absolutely not. And I really
you
questioned
heard
it
it
the
here,
last.
folks. A
Well,
Christian
to be
who
honest.
won't vote
Well,
for Trump.
yeah, yeah,
We've
there's a
made
lot
some
of them.
progress.
I know a lot of them. I mean, there, but it became very difficult when we have Biden versus Trump, and you go like, how did we get here? Like, how did this happen? I don't really know. I can only figure that they felt he was the most moderate they had available at the time, and I go, wow, we're in a mess. Hopefully, we get out of this.
I saw this comment that Titan made in a different chat. I think it was on Deep Drinks, actually. Ranked choice voting would just probably fix a lot of the bullshit that most of the country deals with, if not get us into better sectors. Or maybe like I could see the United States just as easily, if not being like a 4 quadrant or 5 quadrant like confederacy that best addresses the climate and the climatary and excuse me daytime relationships to the rest of the world in their context, right? Like given their geography and all that, um, functioning well together as like some kind of confederacy that makes decisions based on their districts or whatever, than
So it'd be
trying to
more,
maintain, huh?
almost more like state, like so many states broken into sections kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, like in a North American EU, right? Like that would probably
Okay,
do a
I see what
lot
you're saying.
better. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe.
Where those like what would be the word? Trans state
Well,
line relationships
but I don't
as
think
they
we have.
exist
I mean,
today
I
would
know
be
you have to
better
go back.
represented in something like that.
Yeah, I know you have to go back a number of years, but when I look at like say Carter or Reagan or Bush, I know people didn't like this or that one, whichever, but I don't think we had quite. I think things were a little more stable then, as far, in my opinion. It wasn't quite as chaotic one way or the other.
I'm gonna put the link back in the chat in case anyone else wants to join in banter. I guess we're gonna shift to banter. So I'm gonna
Well,
change
we
the
can go
title
back
of the
to
stream here.
Bible.
It's okay.
I mean, why couldn't we just
Bible
have
camp
like
and
a Donald
banter.
Trump Bible camp or something? I mean,
Oh man, can you imagine? No, seriously,
okay, well,
seriously. Like,
okay,
what if?
Pelosi's Bible camp. No, no, I don't know. I'd be like, oh man, come on, no, we can't.
Well, so this is fun, right? This is what
Okay,
like
okay, okay.
a good like um street epistemology or like idea exploration conversation constitutes, right? Where you sit down with a concept and say, okay, like let's imagine, right, that our middle school age children, 10 to 14, we'll say, are going to spend a week with uh, a let's pick a particular political belief, a pro-abortion person or figurehead, let's say, at a camp. They have to. They just have to do that. There's nothing we can do to get around it. They have to go to this week-long camp with a pro-abortion person. What would we want that camp to look like, and what would we do in response to that camp for our kid? Go.
Well, for me to send my kid to like a pro-abortion,
You had no option. Like, there's no obvious way to get them out of it.
well, it'd be like sending them to school or something,
Mm-hmm.
in a
Right.
sense. So it's kind of, so for me, like you send the kids to school, you say, well, this is what they believe, and this is why we believe this, and actually, I try to get the kid to be able to think it through and try to make up their mind, recognizing they're young, but give them a number of different options and see what they think.
So you would try to equip them with the idea that you can hear information, but not um, tell them. Sorry, they can. You would equip them with the idea that they can take in information, but they don't have to immediately assume that that information maps onto reality.
Or that it necessarily is best for their life,
Good. Mhm.
and so, you know if someone's raped or whatever, and whether you should keep a child or not, I think it's right that if you're gonna have relations, it's like you're responsible. But I mean, and as the kid grows up, listening to other kids and they're talking with kids, I mean, they're gonna learn, they're gonna hear different things.
Right. I think I would be generally the same as you there, like that. I hope that my kids, they don't just instantly believe or completely agree with something just because someone said so, right?
Yeah, and
I think
I think I
yeah.
might be disappointed if they don't agree with me, but I don't expect them to always follow everything I told
Well,
them.
yeah, like someone could say so about something, and then that's not what I would say about it. And I would hope that they would align with me, especially if I think the evidence is on my side. But if they don't, I can respect their personal limits, and whether that's their education level or their ability to understand a concept. Like I think my one of my kids might be uh, on like the spectrum of sorts, and so their cognition levels and their ability to comprehend something might be less than my
Right.
other child. And so now I'm going to have to like navigate the waters of like, I make this claim for this kid, and
Oh,
what do they
that's
think?
tough. Yeah, yeah, I would
Yeah,
agree. That would be tough. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that's cool that we are in pretty much agreement there. So I think then the question is, after that, it's like, okay, so we want to equip our kids with the ability to assess the truth values, or be open or willing to accept or reject ideas um, on their own merits or their own research or their own understanding levels. All good. We're all good there. I think the next step in that then is for to equip our kids to not to recognize when they may be being pressured or worn down to make those kinds of decisions, bringing it back to Bible camp a little
Right, right, right. I
bit.
see. Right. I no, I
Right,
understand.
giving them the tools to see that there's things going on here that are going to play a role in their ability to assess evidence or think about a claim being made before they just go, okay, yeah, I guess I agree with you now, right?
Yeah, I think one of the difficulties I remember, and it's kind of interesting. I think you kind of touched on what you brought up reminded me of school, and it is
Mhm.
true though in a way. And I remember when they had a thing they were teaching, kids about different religions and sexual orientation and such, but and different religions for sure, um, and it was odd. Westboro Baptist Church, I remember they had hit the area,
Yeah.
and so then I got involved with that, and dealing with that, and that was odd. That was pretty weird. So I mean, on one hand, I felt my kids had a right to believe what they want to believe. They can't be going around forcing their religion on people and stuff, and they should care about others. And yet, on the other hand, when Westboro Baptist Church shows up, actually, I called Topeka, Kansas, and talked with the lady from there, and I told her I was going to bring my camera and a Bible, and I'd see them, and actually, they didn't show up. But then the school thought they chased the kids. They chased off Westboro Baptist by that they were challenging them, and they were going to yell and scream at them and fight with them. And I'm like, unbelievable. So I told them then what
Mm.
happened. Then my kids actually didn't have to go to
That's
the.
funny.
It was kind of weird, when they realized what happened. Like, they thought, well, we chased them off. I'm like, no, they love that.
Right.
But I really don't think they Westboro Baptist kind of likes an argument, but I think where I got them and I think they showed some fear was I said, I asked him, I said, are you Calvinist? And she says, yes. She goes, we're 5-point Calvinists. I said, well, then why are you telling them? Why are you showing up here to tell them that they need to repent if they can't? And that's when I said, well, and I'll be there tomorrow morning, with my Bible and a camera. And yeah, honest to goodness,
Oh, that's
they
fucking
shut it
funny.
down.
I
I'm
love
not
it.
saying I was that smart, but somehow that day I pulled it. I think the Calvinist thing kind of shook her, because
That's
she
so great.
she
I
slammed
love
the
I
phone
love
on you.
that story.
She slammed the phone on me, man. She was furious, and I'm like, well, and I was really happy when they didn't show up.
Well, you were just calling them to be consistent with their worldview, right? And that's part of the reason why I'm willing to do a stream like this too is like, just be consistent for how you handle your youth's culpability for the decisions they make, right?
Well,
Because
I think
if the evidence points towards you hold them less accountable for, lesser offenses, how much more should you hold them less accountable for heavenly
yeah.
offenses?
But I mean, as far as Christians go, and I'm sure you've seen this kind of thing. I remember when Westboro Baptist Church was showing up for a funeral, and the protest.
Lord.
Actually, it was the Amish. Some nut shot up a a girls' schoolhouse a number of years ago, and so Westboro Baptist wanted to protest against the Amish and that they deserved it because they're ungodly or something,
The
And
fucking Amish.
no, this is no joke. This is serious. And what was interesting was a local radio station. The radio station offered them time on the radio in exchange to not show up to the funeral. And it was predominantly Christians calling into that radio show that just tore up the Westboro Baptist Church. They shredded them.
I love it.
I mean, yeah, and so it's kind of an odd thing, when I look at Christianity. I know that people can be jerks and obnoxious, but I see a lot of good though that the Christians do that I don't think we really see on YouTube too much.
Sure. And so, do you go to church currently?
Nah, I'm kind of radical. No, I would
Okay.
go. I
You're like a nunya where you don't, go to church at all. You just have your own.
no, I like church.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. It's kind of I could probably I mean I could go. You know what? If I went to one of those like I call very liberal church and didn't get too active, yeah, I'd probably be fine. But because I think that I don't have real super strong faith and that kind of thing.
So you mean, but when you say liberal church, you mean like
mainline, mainstream kind of.
right, like you wouldn't go to like Greek Orthodox or like a Catholic church.
Oh, I think I could fit in a Catholic church pretty well. I
Interesting.
just tell them
Okay.
my name's Mother Mary, and I think I would go, no, I could get kicked out. Okay, I wouldn't do that. I'm Joseph.
You show up for communion, you're like, hit me, holy man.
yeah. No, I think because I tend to be more interested in somewhat fundamental kind of
so
churches,
to
seems,
the lights of most people who are on my atheist listening, right? You would be something like center right, I would guess.
yeah,
Where you're not like kill the gays, but you're more like, oh, let's convert them. Let's see if they're part of Jesus'
I would say
fold.
no. For me, it would be more like don't push it on me and tell me that I have to love something that I may not love. But on the other hand, just don't push it on me. Like I don't really have.
Well, I'm not saying you got to start pegging, getting pegged. But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like.
No, I'm saying that what I mean is I'm not like kill the gays or be mean to them or anything.
Right.
I'm just like no. I just
and don't push that out to society, right? So that
on
but
me,
I think that
like,
puts you more towards like center right, where you want most people to be able to like thrive and have a good sense of well-being and stuff like that,
right?
And you don't necessarily want it shouted from the rooftops like, hey, I think you're deserving of hellfire because of something you can't seem to control.
No, I guess what I mean is like, say that there was like a gay parade that would offend me, like coming down the street, that would bother me. Yet on the other hand, it would offend me to have heterosexuals if they were coming down the street on a float or something and hugging and kissing and slopping all over each other. I don't want to see either. Like, so I don't really have an issue
Right. Well, you wouldn't want like heterosexual Pornhub to have a
Right.
parade either.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah, I wouldn't want it to be either. So, but yet, for some reason, it's supposed to be accepted if, it, because of the divide on some thoughts like this. I think sometimes it's people expect that if it's gay, then I'm supposed to accept it. And that's what I mean by sometimes it's pushed. Where and so I just figured we should all. I guess it's just a difficult issue, and I don't think we're gonna. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it, but
Yeah. Well, I really respect you for this what I think generally your um position is.
I mean,
Um
maybe I wouldn't want a gay pastor, but on the other hand, it doesn't mean I couldn't learn something from somebody that was a gay pastor. Maybe I wouldn't go to that church. Maybe I'd attend it once or twice, or who knows what.
well,
Maybe it's not my
you
choice.
know,
I'm not going to condemn the
especially
person.
like if that pastor took the time to, understand Proto-Hebrew, Hebrew, and Greek,
Right.
right?
Well,
Like
yeah. Right.
what if
Right.
they had doctorates in all three? Like what you
Yeah,
know what I
but
mean? Like
I think it is a weird thing. But you also run into a thing where people wouldn't want a woman pastor. They don't want.
right.
But also, you wouldn't want
The
to
the
pastor.
non-ironic thing though is that I come from a church, if you want to call it a church, that had basically women pastors. So
Right.
there you go.
Yeah, and right, sure, you're going to see that, and some people accept it, some don't.
Yeah.
Uh, or maybe a pastor with like four wives. Like, wait a minute. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to end my stream.
Yeah, I'll just say that
Bruce,
I don't think people have to agree on things, but I don't think they should hate each other, over
yeah.
their disagreements. I mean, it's best I can figure,
Right. And especially as like finite beings, I think that it's better for many Christians to adopt the position that because I'm a finite person or being in my worldview, like I don't get to be the ultimate arbiter over what this person before me has ascertained is a good or valid conclusion. I'm going to let God do that, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I release my need for their response, and I release my desire for them to repent, because those could be idols in of themselves. And so
What do you mean? You mean if they
like having a messiah complex where like a person that you're talking to, your interlocutor, right, that they come to Jesus or like you know repent and then say, oh, I'm a Christian now, like
I got you.
you
Okay.
gotta let go of that stuff because you believe in some level of free will, and you know
Yeah, I think. Well, to leave it this, don't you? Do you think my belief's been like on YouTube watching it that instead of arguing so much about things that I see some people do, and I can get caught up in it, but well, I think that when people actually show genuine, I guess I mentioned the word love a lot, but they actually do care, that they really do care about people. And I would think that in itself would have more of an impact on people than whether they're a good debater or something, And maybe I'm wrong, but I would think the majority of people would be more
no,
moved by an honest effort to
I
really
completely
care.
agree with that when you are trying to understand someone's position, their life, their experiences, like just in what you did with playing your guitar and listening to the music that I played back, I felt really loved by that.
Right, right.
I really, really appreciated that, Bruce. So thank you so much for doing
Well,
that.
it's interesting when you were talking about it, and I was thinking, wow, that's pretty neat, And you mentioned a program you
Yeah,
use, and I'm familiar, I know about it, and the different programs you're using, and playing around with synthesis, and it's cool stuff.
yeah, yeah. That's really cool, and that has a more personal affect on me than whatever else we have to talk about the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Um, And I completely agree with that. That more people need to understand that the words that they say, the ways that they treat a person as if, they're valuable, meaningful, have something to contribute to their own existence, that's going to go a lot farther than, philosophical or data driven shit, because that's how our brains work.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just simple things like helping somebody with their car or
Yep.
whatever, or helping somebody with their computer, whatever it is. I mean, just, genuinely caring. I mean, I know it means a lot to me when somebody does that. So, yeah. Yeah, and if they're a Christian and they claim it and they're living it, I think it does speak, I guess. So anyhow, I better let you roll. I know you were closing down. So
Yeah, I'm gonna close out shop. But thank you so much for contributing and talking about Bible camp for a little bit, and also, um,
yeah, and I can see your concerns with it. I can see it could be pretty wacky. Yeah, I
well,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah. And I'm glad that you seem to agree with me that using pressure tactics, or this stringent itinerary on that age group is probably not the best way to
Yeah,
introduce
I
people
get
to
it.
Jesus.
Right.
That's good. That's good. See, everyone, Niddy's channel is a place where you can find a non-believer agreeing with a Christian.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Have a good night, man. Take care
Yeah.
now. Bye.
And that's Nitty. We'll see you next time.